I am a person who likes buying cheap crap online from China. I'm also a person who enjoys, retro gaming and emulation and all that sort of thing. So, naturally, for playing retro games, I jumped onto eBay and I picked up this controller from China. It cost $3.69. I'm pretty sure it was free posting when I bought it. Yeah, free shipping. So they've actually added an 18-cent shipping charge now, so be careful. But it's $3.69 Australian, which is I looked it up before, is $2.83 US for those of you playing at home, and it's a USB controller. How could it go wrong apart from it being horrible? Let's find out. But here's the listing just to show you what sort of thing we're working with, what sort of quality we're working with. Apparently, it's two shock, which is strange because it's neither analog stick or vibration that you would normally associate with DualShock. It's 12 fire button for I don't know what this means. It supports Direct 7.0 and up, which is really useful. It's compatible with 98, Me 2000 XP or Vista. Now, because this isn't 2004, I don't have any of those, but it does. I'll give you a spoiler. It does work with other operating systems. And the most important part is that it does imitate the mode to convert with normal regulations mode arbitrarily. Because I hate it when you buy a controller and it just doesn't. I don't know what that. I'm trying to pretend like that, mate. It doesn't make any sense. But anyway, so anything you buy online from China, takes 3-4 weeks to arrive, but it always gets there. And look, you're paying three bucks, so you can't really go wrong. So this is the controller here. It's obviously it's a PS1 controller. It's the original PS1 controller, obviously without the DualShock. But it's made of really the same sort of plastic, maybe a little bit cheaper as what you would expect. There's a little bit of sort of hard edges here and there. I don't know if that's focused, but all in all, it's actually not too bad in terms of quality. The buttons themselves they're actually quite nice. I don't know if you can hear the clickiness, but the D-pad's actually quite clicky, which is nice, and so are the face buttons. The shoulder buttons are they're not that good. The L1 and R1 are all right, but the L2 and R2, the issue that they have is that the actual click point, where the little switch is underneath the 2, and you have to sort of hit it at the exact place for it to activate. Whereas if you hit it on the side, you don't get the button press. You just get a little, it just pushes down. You have to actually get it through the middle for it to register. The L1 doesn't have that. No matter where I click it, the button works. It's the same story with R1 and R2. So it's minor annoyance because at the end of the day, you're playing retro games. They didn't tend to use the shoulder buttons very much, but it's a bit of an annoyance. Much the same. Apart from that, though, you've got the rubberized start and select. Again, you're not using them very often, but they've also got a pretty decent click to them. It's not a click; it's a tactile press. So all in all, it's not too bad. And of course, your cable is standard USB. So anything that takes a USB port, it'll fit. Might not work, but it'll fit. So what I like about these is that they are just plug and play. So I've got this plugged into the USB port of a Mac. It's a MacBook Air, and it just picks it up automatically just as a USB gamepad. It also works on Windows, I'll show in a minute. And I've got this, I've got OpenEmu open, which, if you don't know, is an emulation front end for Mac, which includes probably a couple dozen gaming consoles. And to be honest, as a piece of software, I think it's fantastic. I haven't seen another emulation front end that works in the way that this does, in that you just there's no configuration required. It's you drag in your ROMs, your ISOs, and you can emulate, a couple dozen gaming consoles just more or less right out of the box with very little configuration. And I just love that. I think I'd love to see that more in emulation software. I think a lot of software is developed for techie-minded people, whereas something like OpenEMU really brings it open to the masses, even though I know some developers don't actually want that. Regardless, so I'm just going to pick Arthur. This is Arthur. I wonder if this is a fighting game where you get to clock your sister in the face. Probably not. So I just want to show this controller in motion. So you'll have to excuse the recording of the screen, but it's just the kind of thing. You can't really show a controller review without actually doing something. So what do we get? A new game. Okay. Ooh, okay. This looks interesting. A, B, start. Okay. Wonderworld, free pass, amazing. Oh, okay, that'll. Yes, I can't really play this with one hand, but you get the idea. There's not really any noticeable input lag. I mean, this is probably the wrong thing to demonstrate. What is this? I'm just moving Arthur's head around. Yeah, but okay, we've done something. Public library. Exciting. Okay, look, I'm getting distracted. The point of this video is not to review whatever the hell this Arthur's absolutely fun day is. It's about this controller. So you don't really notice any input lag. I mean, I'm sure there is at a minuscule level, but it's not something that gets in the way or really you can detect more than using even just the keyboard of the computer. Just to show it running on Windows as well. Again, it does just work plug and play. So the moment you plug it in, it just automatically Windows 10 picks up the drivers and it's just a generic USB gamepad. So just in terms of retro games on this machine, I actually don't have very much. I've got a few emulators, but actually mostly modern stuff. Crazy Taxi is probably the oldest thing I've got. So let's just bring this up. It's probably the most appropriate thing. Play. And again, it's the controller, so it's not going to do a great job while we're here, being that I've got one hand. But this one's actually quite interesting because by default, it picked this up as a controller and let me play it. But the default configuration, and I couldn't work out how to actually change the config in this game, the default configuration was really weird. Press start. Arcade. So I'm somehow going to play Crazy Taxi with a controller with one hand while holding the camera with the other. Let's work this out. Let's do this guy. So yeah, the configuration is really weird because before I was saying that you don't use the shoulder buttons in retro game. For some reason, by default, R1 is accelerate and R2 is brake. So there we go. I'm playing Crazy Taxi with my little fake PS1 controller. There you go. Anyway, I won't play this much longer. Just stop this. Try not to kill too many people. But again, that's the point of Crazy Taxi, isn't it? But yeah, so that's just to demonstrate. Again, it just works plug and play. No real issues in terms of compatibility. Despite what the ad says, it does work on Windows 10, not just Windows Me and Windows Vista. Look, to conclude, I think this thing's really good actually. Costs $3. Buttons are quite nice to hold. I'd mentioned before the little issue I had with the L2 and R2 buttons, but even that doesn't get in the way that much. Once you get a feel for the controller, you know to press it there, so it doesn't really bother you. And really, for the price and for what you're getting, it's a good little thing. For playing anything more modern, obviously it's not going to do the job because you don't have your analog sticks, you probably want vibrations, but for that I actually use an Xbox 360 controller. It's when I'm using it's when I'm playing the retro games that I just hate D-pad on the 360 controller, and this thing, to me, is brilliant. And I grew up playing PS1, so I love this thing. Yeah, that's it. And the thing is that there's so many sellers on eBay and there's so many sellers on places like AliExpress that it's not like you have to buy it from one particular seller. You just jump on there, have a look, see which one you like, see which one's got a good rating, pick it up, give it a go. Will it last very long? Who knows? Let's be real, probably not. But for now, I think this thing's great.